My mother, who has enjoyed a life of luxury for 40 years, has recently been revealed to be a false heiress. The true heiress, accompanied by her legitimate daughter, arrived at our doorstep, wailing and demanding that my mother and I be cast out. Parents, we have endured a life of hardship for 4 long decades, and at last, we have found our family. Eldest brother, second brother, I am your genuine sister. How dare this wretched woman usurp my life? They brandished the verification report from my grandfather, while my grandmother remained expressionless, and my uncles recoiled, too intimidated to voice a word. The true heiress and her mother reveled in their triumph, seizing my mother's necklace and handbag, claiming my room as their own, and rudely instructing us to leave. Silence now, are we? If you have any sense, you'll depart gracefully to preserve some dignity. To have squatted here for 40 years is utterly shameless. I could only gaze at them with sympathy, and the next moment, my grandfather burst into the room, nearly stumbling in his haste, and called out to my grandmother, "Darling, you must believe me, I have never been unfaithful." He then pointed at the bewildered true heiress, exclaiming, "What sort of demon has come to tarnish my honor? I have lived all these years without ever fathering a daughter." When I received a call from my uncle, I was deeply engrossed in my work at the office. "Dear niece, something terrible has happened. A woman has come forward claiming to be your parents' biological daughter. She insists that your mother is a false heiress and demands to be sent away." Having just turned 18, I had been thrown into an internship at the company by my grandmother, and I was utterly overwhelmed. Hearing this news left me momentarily speechless, utterly incredulous. Who still engages in such melodramatic antics? Why not simply dismiss her outright? Yet, from the other end of the line erupted a piercing wail. A cacophony of contralto and soprano that pierced my eardrums. "Eldest brother, second brother, I am your little princess. For all these years, you should have cherished me. Uncle, second uncle, I am your niece. At long last, we have found our family." Goosebumps prickled my arms as a chill coursed through me. Amidst the clamor, I couldn't discern what my uncle was saying, but his tone was urgent. After hanging up, he sent a message. I thought it was a scam too. "But they have a paternity test. Niece, come home quickly." I was taken aback, realizing that the situation was far more complex than I had anticipated. My grandparents were renowned for their deep affection for one another, having only 2 uncles and my mother among their 3 children. My mother had been cherished as the jewel of the family, raised as the genuine princess of the clan. Now, someone was brandishing a paternity test claiming she was a false heiress. It was utterly ludicrous. Without hesitation, I rushed home. Just as I approached the front door, I heard a foreign voice, brimming with an air of superiority. Upon entering, I indeed found a stranger, a middle-aged woman. My mother stood opposite her, flanked by my 2 uncles, who visibly relaxed upon seeing me. Before I could utter a word, the woman spoke first, her gaze sweeping over me with disdain. "So, you are the daughter of that false heiress, Yu Mingju?" I refrained from responding, narrowing my eyes as I regarded her. "You are the one who claims to be my biological relative, the true daughter of my grandparents?" The woman raised her head with a sense of triumph. "Indeed. I shall no longer be known as Qin Xiaohua, but as Yu Xiaohua, I am the genuine heiress of the Yu family." Suddenly, her eyes fixated on my mother's handbag, and she reached out to snatch it from my mother. "This must be the latest Hermes model, worth millions, as reported on television. It belongs to the Yu family. And now it is mine." With that, she gleefully slung my mother's bag over her shoulder. My mother's eyes widened in shock as she stared at Qin Xiaohua. "You are utterly shameless, stealing my belongings." I furrowed my brow, and before I could speak, my second uncle instinctively reclaimed the bag. Qin Xiaohua shrieked in fury, "Second brother, I am your sister. How could you assist that false heiress?" My second uncle cleared his throat, setting aside the fact that this bag was purchased by Mingju herself. "Your identity will need to be confirmed when your parents arrive. It is premature to draw conclusions." My mother, filled with worry, remarked, "AI, if it is true, we won't be cast out, will we? It has always been just the 2 of us, struggling to make ends meet." I patted her hand, my tone steady. "Mother, cease watching those melodramatic novels. No one can take away the several billion in your account." Qin Xiaohua's face contorted, her voice rising. "Several billion? That is all my money. It must all remain with me." An excited voice chimed in, "Mother, I found the bank card." I looked up to see a girl of similar age standing by the balcony on the 2nd floor, triumphantly holding up a black card. I immediately recognized it as the card I had left in my room's drawer. My uncle's expression darkened. When did she climb up there without us noticing? The girl, however, looked down at me with a smug expression. So, you are AI? Just like your mother, a counterfeit, occupying my place for 18 years. It has truly been a boon for you. From now on, your room, clothes, and jewelry will all belong to me, Chin Lily. I interrupted, my patience wearing thin. The matter is still unresolved. You are trespassing and committing theft. I can call the police. Chin Lily's countenance faltered, and she shouted, my mother has the paternity report. The old patriarch of the family is my grandfather. This is irrefutable evidence. Qin Xiaohua wore a triumphant expression, as if she were brandishing an invaluable treasure, and scoffed. I specifically underwent a paternity test. I am the true heiress of the Yu family. Today, I not only seek recognition, but also intend to expel you two imposters. I opened the paternity report, and indeed, the last page stated that Qin Xiaohua was my grandfather's biological daughter. My uncle, standing to the side, lowered his voice to inquire. AI, how do you propose we handle this? It can't be true, can it? I shot him a bemused glance. My uncle was engrossed in academia, while my second uncle was only fond of painting. Both were oblivious to the world outside. At this moment, they appeared utterly flummoxed, exchanging uncertain glances. I, however, wore a peculiar expression, recalling something my grandmother had previously mentioned to me, allowing a cold smile to creep across my face as I formulated a plan. Just as I was about to speak, a flurry of footsteps echoed through the house. What calamity has occurred that has prompted such a hasty summons? It was my grandmother. And as we prepared to greet her, a figure dashed past us. 3. Qin Xiaohua clutched my grandmother's hand, her demeanor shifting instantly to one of sorrow and indignation. Mother, I have searched for you tirelessly. I have wandered for 40 years before finally finding my family. Thankfully, I did not give up. Now I can finally have a home. My grandmother surveyed the scene with an inscrutable expression before asking, you claim to be my daughter? Qin Xiaohua nodded fervently, hastily snatching the report from my hand to present it to my grandmother. After examining the report, my grandmother scrutinized Qin Xiaohua for several seconds. Oblivious, Qin Xiaohua pulled Qin Lily closer. Grandmother, I am Lily, your biological granddaughter. They crowded around my grandmother, refusing to budge, their eyes watchful and wary, fearful of our approach. Yet my grandmother did not grant them the response they sought. She seated herself and stated sternly, mistaken identities are indeed a grave matter. My husband has yet to arrive. Why don't you explain how you discovered this? At this, Qin Xiaohua's expression faltered, and she began to choke on her words. I grew up without parents. My greatest wish was to find my family. By the grace of heaven, last month, while sorting through my foster mother's belongings, I stumbled upon her diary, which revealed that I had been swapped at birth 40 years ago. I have traveled far and wide to find you. And I even underwent a paternity test to ensure you would recognize me. Qin Xiaohua's words dripped with a sense of martyrdom and understanding. I know you have formed bonds with the false heiress over the years. Even my brother has taken my things for her. You need not evict her for my sake. The household can certainly manage to feed two mouths. As she spoke, she dabbed at her eyes, her peripheral vision constantly darting towards my grandmother. My grandmother remained silent, while my two uncles exchanged glances. However, Mingzhu and the niece owned several properties. They typically only stayed here occasionally. Qin Xiaohua's eyes reddened as she pointed at me and my mother in disbelief. Why do they deserve so many properties? This is all the Yu family's money. It should all be mine. Her voice almost cracked, her facade of innocence crumbling as jealousy seeped through. Mother, now that I have returned, the things that rightfully belong to me should be returned as well, right? The Yu family is vast and prosperous. Yu Mingzhu and Yu AI must possess considerable assets. Those houses, cars, and the several billion in funds should all be returned to us. Qin Xiaohua insinuated to my uncle's eldest brother, second brother, as a mere woman. I do not grasp the intricacies of business management. If Yu Mingzhu returns my belongings, I shall relinquish my shares in the company to you. However, the two uncles merely exchanged awkward glances. But we have long since transferred the shares to our niece. She is the heir nurtured by our parents. At this point, it was Qin Lily's turn to scream, her eyes filled with resentment as she pointed at me. Why should you AI inherit the company? I am your niece, my grandmother. Are you truly considering entrusting the family business to an outsider? I scoffed lightly. Do not overestimate your worth. if the company is not entrusted to me. Do you think it will be squandered on you? Chin Lily's eyes blazed with fury. I am a true descendant of the Yu family. After acknowledging my ancestry, everything belonging to the Yu family rightfully belongs to me. Once my grandfather arrives, you shall all pay the price. I smirked, shaking my phone in my hand. Coincidentally, my grandfather had already arrived. Let us see how this unfolds. Just as my words faded, the sound of a car echoed from outside once more. Chin Lily flashed a triumphant smile at me. Grandfather is here. You're all doomed now. As footsteps approached, Qin Xiaohua and Chin Lily rushed to the forefront once again. Dad, you finally came. Your own daughter is about to be bullied to death. Grandfather, how I've missed you. It's been so many years since we last met. My grandfather entered with a stern expression, pushed back several steps by the two of them. Who are you? Don't try to claim kinship with me. Qin Xiaohua repeated her earlier tactic, presenting the paternity test as if it were a prized possession. Dad, you truly are my biological father. Yu Mingzhu is just a pretender. My grandfather regarded the report with the gravitas of facing a formidable foe, flipping to the last page, his expression shifting dramatically. The room fell silent. And my second uncle muttered under his breath, the conclusion is just 2 lines. Why has Dad taken so long to read it? My mother pressed her lips together. Resolute. AI, don't be afraid. Even if you're not my biological child, I will still ensure you lead a good life. I chuckled softly, exchanging a glance with my grandmother, whispering, rest assured, Mother, that won't happen. However, the mother-daughter duo, brimming with confidence, cast provocative smiles our way, their tone overly theatrical. What more do you have to say? Stop putting on a brave front. I know you can't bear to part with your luxurious lifestyle. But what isn't yours ultimately isn't yours. It would be wise for you to leave gracefully and maintain your dignity. My father is here. Who would dare to play tricks? Chin Lily crossed her arms, proudly tilting her head. Exactly. I am the heir of the Yu family. Not demanding the return of the 40 years of wealth UOS is already a favor. From this moment on, you two no longer carry the Yu surname. You can leave my home. They were elated, their noses in the air, exuding unparalleled confidence. Yet my uncle remained silent, diminishing his presence. And my grandmother continued to hold her tongue. I could only gaze at them with pity. In the next moment, my grandfather seemed to awaken, his pupils constricting. He tossed the report aside and hurried over, nearly tripping in the process. Old partner, you must believe me, I never cheated. Qin Xiaohua was taken aback. Her expression one of confusion. Dad, what are you talking about? I am your biological daughter who was swapped. Yet my grandfather pointed at her and exclaimed, What kind of demon is this to tarnish my reputation? I have never given birth to a daughter in my life. Everyone present was frozen in place. My second uncle's eyes spinning in disbelief. If you've never had a daughter, then where did Mingzhu come from? My mother, equally stunned, murmured, Could it be that I am actually an adopted child? My grandmother cleared her throat and said, Mingzhu is indeed my biological child. This matter was never intended to be disclosed to you. I only mentioned it briefly to AI not long ago. With a single statement, she shattered Qin Xiaohua's dreams of grandeur as she gazed at her in utter despair. My grandmother looked ahead, her gaze distant as she reminisced. 2 years after I gave birth to twin brothers, I had a quarrel with your grandfather and nearly divorced him. 2 years later, I dated a boyfriend. And Mingzhu was conceived during that time. My eldest uncle finally pieced it together. So Mingzhu was born of mom and her ex, and is not related to dad by blood. My second uncle was nearly leaping with shock. How could we have never known about such a significant matter? My grandmother glared at him before explaining that relationship lasted only 3 months. Soon, I discovered he was a gambling addict, deeply in debt, attempting to swindle me into helping him repay it. I broke up with him immediately, realizing once again that your father was the better choice. When he came back to me for a remarriage, I agreed. Not long after, I found out I was pregnant. At that time, you were all too young. So we didn't make a fuss about it. When Mingzhu was born, I simply had your father acknowledge her as his daughter. My mother stood there in shock, her eyes wide. Dad, how come I didn't know? What about my biological father? My grandmother sighed softly. He vanished to escape his debts long ago. I considered him dead and simply forgot about him. My grandfather smiled warmly, patting my mother on the shoulder, cheerfully declaring, Don't dwell on it. You are my daughter. And your brother is your brother. We will always be a family. My mother responded wistfully. I just didn't expect such a melodramatic twist. Even you two were into divorcing back in the day. My grandfather coughed lightly, about to speak when a sharp, explosive noise interrupted. Chen Xiaohua's eyes widened as she rushed to grasp my grandfather, weeping bitterly. This is impossible. I have a paternity test. Dad, I am your biological daughter. My grandfather replied coldly enough. I have stated repeatedly that I have only fathered 2 sons. How could you possibly be my daughter? My eldest uncle's expression darkened. His tone icy. What do you mean? My father would never cheat. Stop trying to sow discord. Chen Xiaohua, undeterred, shouted, I refuse to believe it. This must be a lie concocted by you all to deny me. She threw herself onto the ground, clutching the paternity test, insisting she was a true Yu family daughter. I looked down at her coldly, stating, while I am unsure of the origins of your paternity test, your narrative has already proven to be inconsistent with the truth. If you persist in this charade, we will not hesitate to involve the authorities. Chen Xiaohua's eyes flickered momentarily before she suddenly declared, No, I am a Yu family member. I simply made a mistake about my biological mother not being old lady Yu. As long as I am indeed biological, I have the right to inherit the fortune. She proclaimed fervently, even standing to shout, Everything I say is the truth. If you don't believe me, we can conduct another paternity test. My grandfather, incensed, clutched his heart, his cane striking the ground forcefully. Let us do it. I must clarify this matter and discover why you are so adamantly clinging to this falsehood. Chen Xiaohua, unafraid, eagerly stood, proactively contacting the testing agency. Her steps were brisk, radiating confidence, completely oblivious to the silence of our family behind her. My grandmother spoke leisurely. Let us follow the trail and see what that report is truly about. I smiled and said, Rest easy, grandmother. I will handle this matter and ensure it is thoroughly investigated. At the testing agency, after collecting the samples, it would take 3 days to receive results. Though 3 days seemed a fleeting moment, Chen Xiaohua and Chen Lili wreaked havoc, turning those few days into a whirlwind of notoriety. They paraded around under the guise of Yu family members, demanding free presidential suites at the Yu family hotel and signing up for membership at a 5-star restaurant under my grandfather's name. They boasted about their so-called true daughter status at beauty salons, fervently declaring that I would eventually be ousted from the family. It's all lies. Mingzhu is the true Yu family daughter. Pay no heed to the rumors floating around. After the 49th phone call seeking information was abruptly terminated by my grandfather, he was so infuriated that he switched off his phone. However, my mother's phone rang again. When she answered it on speaker, the voice of the mall manager came through, sounding perplexed. Ms. Yu, we wish to verify that today a mother-daughter pair visited the mall, spending a total of 3,800,000, claiming to be Yu family members and requesting the bill be sent to the Yu family. Without needing to say more, we all knew who it was. My mother sneered, resolutely stating, I do not recognize them. You should request payment from them directly. Do not let just anyone claim to be part of the Yu family. After hanging up, my grandfather stroked his beard, visibly upset. It's Chen Xiaohua again, flaunting herself before the results are even in. The Yu family's reputation is at stake. I suggested, let us simply fabricate a result indicating no blood relation and send them on their way today. What are we waiting for? My mother pondered. They are so brazen. Do they not fear being proven wrong later? I lowered my head, contacting the company's public relations, opening the latest documents and reflecting thoughtfully. The investigation was progressing, and results would soon be forthcoming. Before the outcome could be awaited, Chen Xiaohua had already arrived at our doorstep. She appeared disheveled, her clothes tattered and hanging loosely on her frame, and in the chill of late autumn, she wasn't even clad in a coat. Upon seeing us open the door, she barged in without hesitation, hands on her hips, exclaiming, Why haven't you signed the bill sent by the mall? Do you realize that because of your refusal to pay, the mall reclaimed all my belongings and even called the police? I raised an eyebrow. You expect us to foot the bill after indulging in a free meal? That's rather absurd. Chen Xiaohua's eyes blazed with fury. I am the daughter of the Yu family. What are a few million to me? Once the paternity test results come out tomorrow, the entire Yu family will belong to me. You are not even my biological father's child, believe me. I will be the first to evict you from our home. Before I could respond, my grandfather bellowed, Nonsense. Mingzhu and Ai are both members of the Yu family. You are not. Chen Xiaohua huffed, "Father, just wait and see. I am undoubtedly your biological child." At that moment, her phone rang, and as soon as she answered, a frantic voice echoed from the other end. "Mom, come quickly. Shen Shifeng and the Shen family are bullying me." Chen Xiaohua's expression shifted instantly as she dashed out. "Hold on, daughter, I'll be right there." I stood behind, exchanging glances with my mother. Shen Shifeng, wasn't he my fiancé, whom I had just become engaged to last month? When did he become involved with Chen Lily? AI, we should go to the Shen family and see what's happening. My mother rubbed her hands together, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. Intrigued by the unfolding drama, I promptly summoned the driver to take us to the Shen residence. Upon arriving outside the Shen family's home, we were greeted by a cacophony of cries and shouts from within. Chen Lily lay sprawled at the entrance, her face buried in her hands as she sobbed. "I am the future heir of the Yu family. Shen Shifeng is my fiancé. How dare you treat me this way?" Shen Shifeng stood a short distance away, his expression dark. "My fiancé is Yu Ai. You lunged at me upon our first meeting. Expelling you was merely a kindness." Chen Xiaohua rushed to embrace Chen Lily, her voice dripping with venom. "Yu Ai is not even a true member of the Yu family. She will be cast out sooner or later. You have chosen the wrong person. There will be no chance for regret tomorrow." The Shen family members exchanged puzzled glances just as my mother and I entered. Upon seeing me, Shen Shifeng wore a look of distress. "Ai, you're here. This person claims to be a Yu family miss. Yet, she lunged at me on our first encounter. I was almost compelled to call the police. They assert they are the granddaughters of old Master Yu and that you are not a Yu. It's utterly laughable." I regarded him with a bemused smile. What if they're indeed correct? I am not the biological granddaughter of grandfather, nor am I the Yu family's eldest miss. Shen Shifeng paused, hesitation flickering across his face. I continued, "You may choose to be engaged to Chen Lily. After all, she is a member of the Yu family, while we are merely linked through a marriage alliance." Chen Lily's eyes sparkled with excitement as she exclaimed, "You see, Yu Ai has acknowledged it. I am the true descendant of the Yu family. You all should be vying for my favor." To my surprise, after pondering for a few seconds, Shen Shifeng eagerly inquired, "So, can you move in with me now? I promise to take good care of you and your mother. If it weren't for your grandfather, I would have confessed my feelings to you long ago. I wouldn't have waited until 18 to get engaged." My lips twitched as my mother interjected with irritation, "Young Shen, I'm still here, and you're openly pursuing my daughter." Chen Lily, having regained her footing, incredulously interrupted us. "I am the daughter of the Yu family. The entire Yu family will belong to me. Can't you hear me?" Chen Xiaohua then turned towards us, rushing over to raise her hand against my mother. "You wretched woman, how dare you show your face? No one is allowed to take my daughter's possessions." However, before she could approach, she was intercepted by the Shen family security. Desperately flailing her arms, she cried out, "Lily came to find you, and you're ungrateful. You unworthy man do not deserve to enter the Yu family." Shen Shifeng approached her, his voice devoid of mirth. "I have known Yu Ai for 18 years. I know exactly what kind of person she is. I had no intention of getting involved with a mother and daughter duo. But I believe it is best to call the police now to ensure our innocence is preserved." As the two were led away by the police, they continued to shout curses, declaring the Shen family to be lifelong enemies of the Yu family and promising to bring about their downfall. Shen Shifeng paid them no mind and leaned closer to me, lowering his voice, "Fiancé, when can I request a date?" I patted his shoulder. "Thank you for keeping them at the station for a day. It certainly brings peace. As for the date, my schedule is full for the next 2 weeks. But I will definitely make time." Noticing the droop at the corners of his mouth, I couldn't help but smile. The following day, Chen Xiaohua and Chen Lily were released from the police station, and the results of the paternity test had also arrived. Chen Xiaohua, consumed by excitement, snatched the report from us, threatening as she tore it open, "You Mingzhu, just wait. I will make sure you and your little bastard leave the Yu family today." However, as her gaze fell upon the final page, she suddenly fell silent, her face draining of color. The conclusion of the paternity report read clearly, "The results do not support a biological relationship between Chen Xiaohua and Yu Jiangwo." Chen Xiaohua stood frozen in place, her hands trembling uncontrollably. Chen Lily, noticing her mother's distress, leaned in to glimpse the report. "Mom, what's wrong? You should be grandfather's biological daughter, right? At that moment, I couldn't help but smirk. Surprised? This is the true outcome. Your claims of being the genuine heiress or an illegitimate child are merely fabrications. Qin Xiaohua's pupils contracted, her eyes quaking as she suddenly shrieked, "This is fake. You must have swapped the report to prevent me from returning to the Yu family, fearing that I would take what does not belong to you." Her teeth chattered, her eyes reddened as she glared at me, her jaw tightening. I remained unfazed, calmly producing an investigative report and tossing it lightly in her direction. "Do you think the Yu family is just any family? 3 days were sufficient for us to trace your ancestry back 18 generations. Qin Xiaohua fixated on the papers, her expression shifting dramatically. At that moment, several footsteps approached, and a middle-aged man was brought in stumbling. Qin Lily could no longer contain herself, exclaiming, "Father." The three of them stood together, pale as ghosts. I stated coolly, "Qin Jigua, the husband of Qin Xiaohua and father of Qin Lily, is also one of the employees of the Yu family's enterprise. You were absent when the mother and daughter came to claim kinship, yet this matter cannot be disconnected from you. In fact, you are one of the masterminds. Do you need me to elaborate further?" Qin Jigua's face turned gray as he collapsed to the ground. "Miss Yu, I am truly sorry. I was bewitched into doing such things. It was all instigated by Qin Xiaohua. I never imagined it would escalate to this severity." As Qin Jigua confessed, he divulged the entire plan. It turned out that he had overheard my grandfather discussing that my mother was not his biological child during a conversation at the company. Upon returning home, he mentioned it to Qin Xiaohua, only to realize that Qin Xiaohua's birthday coincidentally matched my mother's. In a twist of fate, Qin Xiaohua boldly proposed the scheme of switching identities, falsely claiming to be the true heiress who had been secretly swapped by a nurse. To cover their tracks, they even bribed someone to produce a fraudulent paternity test. However, they had not anticipated that my mother was the child of my grandmother and her former partner. They attempted to employ the same deceit for a second paternity test, but I had already unraveled their scheme. Qin Jigua stammered, "This idea originated from Qin Xiaohua. She is the mastermind. Miss Yu, I implore you to show mercy and spare me." He trembled, barely able to stand. I ruthlessly exposed. Qin Xiaohua devised the plan. "And you were the one who fabricated the report. Moreover, how did you overhear my grandfather's conversation?" His face turned ashen, terror evident in his eyes. I observed the cold sweat trickling down Qin Jigua's forehead and softly inquired, "What were you doing at that moment? Hiding in the office, seeking company secrets?" Qin Jigua erupted in a fit of despair, shouting, "I did not." Without further ado, I hurled several pages of investigative findings at his face. "The surveillance footage and chat records are right here. If you dare to steal company secrets and sell them to competitors, prepare to languish in prison." Qin Jigua, who had initially straightened up slightly, collapsed entirely, crashing into Qin Xiaohua beside him. Ever since Qin Jigua divulged the entire plan, Qin Xiaohua had been rendered mute, sitting there in a daze until jolted back to reality by the impact, her body trembling fiercely. No, I cannot possibly fail. You AI, you Mingzhu. So, what if I lose? You have not won either. You are not truly of the Yu family, just like me. I refuse to believe that the Yu family's fortune will fall into the hands of you two outsiders. I offered her a disdainful smile. I regret to inform you that the heir of the Yu family is now me, and it shall remain so. You are unaware that the Yu family was built through the toil of my grandparents, nor do you comprehend the depth of our familial bonds. Qin Xiaohua glared at me in defiance, and I dealt her a final, devastating blow. Moreover, I owe you my gratitude. For this incident has resolved the long-standing misunderstandings between my grandparents. In truth, my mother is the biological daughter of my grandfather." Qin Xiaohua was utterly taken aback, vehemently denying it. "Is there still a need for you to deceive me at this point? What purpose would it serve to toy with me?" I smirked, reopening the paternity test report. Qin Xiaohua had not read all the contents. The other document contained the results regarding my mother and grandfather. Due to the closeness of my grandmother's separation and remarriage, they did not regard my mother's lineage and had not meticulously verified it. In fact, my mother is indeed the biological daughter of my grandfather. Qin Xiaohua tore her report to shreds, screaming in madness, "Impossible! I am the true heiress. You all must kneel before me. I am the genuine heiress." With her hair disheveled, she resembled a deranged woman. Qin Lily gazed at her in fear, having lost her support, and burst into tears. Yet, Chen Xiaohua clutched her shoulders, shaking her desperately. Lily, I am the true heiress. You are a third-generation rich heiress. We will be blessed for the rest of our lives. As she muttered to herself, I realized that Chen Xiaohua had been secretly monitoring my mother's every move, deluding herself into believing she was the true heiress, ultimately convincing herself of this fantasy, which led to her audacious pursuits. I found no desire to further comment on such foolishness and directly turned the entire family over to the police. Under police investigation, even more secrets were uncovered. It turned out that Chen Jigua had made a third contingency plan, secretly transferring the family's assets to overseas accounts. Should his scheme fail, he intended to flee. However, now, all his plans had unraveled. After being detained by the police, the company naturally terminated his employment and sought restitution for all losses incurred. As for Chen Xiaohua and her daughter, although their situation was less severe and they were not sentenced, they had amassed considerable debt due to excessive spending. At this moment, they found themselves burdened with enormous debts, wandering the streets without a place to stay. Chen Xiaohua's mental state deteriorated further. On one occasion, as I stepped outside, I encountered the two of them at the entrance. It was none other than the disheveled Chen Xiaohua, who screamed, I am the Yu family's heiress. This is my company. Chen Lily stood by, desperately attempting to pull her away. Mom, stop it. Do you want to embarrass us? But Chen Xiaohua could not hear her. I did not pause my steps. I alerted the security to maintain order and walked away. This was merely a minor episode in life, soon to be swept away by the winds. The road ahead is broad and unimpeded, and my steps shall not falter. The end of this tale. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.